Welcome back to Inside City Hall. My next guest has spent much of her day inside the state capitol with opponents of gay marriage, urging state senators not to pass that same-sex marriage bill we've been talking about. Joining us from Albany to explain her position is the chairwoman and co-founder of the National Organization for Marriage, Maggie Gallagher. Thank you for being with us tonight. You have written at great length, Ms. Gallagher, about the benefits of child rearing within marriage. There are benefits for the parents, there are benefits for the kid, benefits for society, and that it is superior to not being married, basically. Mm-hmm. And I guess the question the question then becomes, if there are same-sex couples that want to participate in marriage for all of those same reasons, what's wrong with that?
Well, I think in terms of what we know from the social science evidence, the benefits of marriage come from the extent to which this social institution can bring together mothers and fathers to raise their children together in a stable union. We don't know that marriage, in other circumstances, that calling other relationships marriages is going to benefit those children in those relationships at all, frankly. What we do know is that's a tiny, tiny fraction of children. I would be surprised if it's 0.25% of children in America might be raised in same-sex households with a married couple. The gigantic vast majority will be raised in a society where the government of New York says the ideal for a child is a mother and father, and that's what marriage is for, is now discredited bigotry. And that's our principal concern, really. Not what people do in private. There's lots of families that are not marital families, but we don't want the government of New York to be changing the public meaning of marriage, especially without a vote of the people.
When you say changing ideas of marriage would be something that would in turn make traditional marriage be regarded as, adherence to traditional marriage be regarded as bigotry, is that the reaction you're getting up there as you walk the halls in Albany?
Well, I think it's a reaction of a lot of gay marriage advocates, frankly, that for many people they see this as the moral equivalent of racism. And you can't say that and then say gay marriage is not going to have consequences. If marriage equality means that people who think marriage is the union of a husband and wife are like bigots opposed to interracial marriage, the government of New York is going to step in a lot of ways to marginalize and suppress an idea that the government has defined as contrary to equality. And yes, we have concerns about that. We have concerns that public schools are going to teach your children and your grandchildren, whether you like it or not, that ideas of marriage that are based on the fact that we need males and females to come together and children need mothers and fathers, these ideas are now discredited bigotry in the eyes of the government of New York. I certainly don't think some polls in Albany at the last minute should be making a decision like that. We want them to kill the bill and let the people of New York vote. When
you say that, and you've written at length about this, that there's a lot of social science evidence that says that traditional marriage is better than the alternative as a way to raise kids and do certain things for society. Is it your understanding that the politicians up there don't know about that information, or do they disagree with it, or do they just not care?
Well, right now I think that we have, just like the blue states of Maryland and Rhode Island, that we are going to win in New York. Certainly if the Republican majority in the Senate stops a minute, doesn't allow itself to be railroaded by Andrew Cuomo, and reflects on what's in the best interest of the people of New York and also their own political interests, frankly.
When you talk about what the people want to do, I have noticed that, and the pollsters tell me that, in New York, as in many other states, over time, more and more people seem willing to approve of same-sex marriage, and the polls almost never go in the opposite direction. Is it only a matter of time before the people support this?
You know what? I've been told a lot of things are inevitable in my life. I'm only 50 years old. I was told that there'd be no pro-lifers left by the year 2000. I was told there'd be no mothers at home, and I was even told by the left that the Soviet Union was the future, and where is the Soviet Union now? I mean, frankly, I trust that there's only one side in this debate right now that trusts the people of New York with this decision. And if gay marriage advocates believe, the polls would show different things depending on how it's worded. But if the people of New York, they really believe the people of New York have changed their minds on this, then they should have no problem trusting the people of New York with a referendum. And I'm calling out to them right now to say, let's come together, let's agree not to railroad a bill through at the last minute, let's refer it to the people of New York in an advisory referendum, and then we will have settled this question, a question of this momentousness, in the way that we do in a democratic society.
Let me ask you this. Do you think of marriage, same-sex marriage in particular, as an individual and private right, or as a state-regulated privilege?
I don't believe that all of us have a right to live as we choose privately, but I don't think anyone, not including me, has the right to redefine marriage. So I think that the position of a great number of New Yorkers, and I would like a free and fair referendum to find out how many, is that marriage really is only the union of husband and wife, that other relationships, whatever their benefits and however good they are not marriages. And we would answer this question the way that Abraham Lincoln once asked the question. He asked the question rhetorically, if you call the tail of a dog's tail a leg, how many legs does a dog have? And Abraham Lincoln said 4, because a tail is not a leg. Marriage is the union of husband and wife for a reason. It's natural. It's based on, real differences between these and other kinds of relationships, and it should be protected and respected in law and society.
And is that the fight that's going on behind the scenes? Are there state senators who feel that way?
There's certainly many senators. Right now we think it's a majority, but I'll tell you what, the GOP, we were told last Wednesday that the GOP was going to conference and there would be a vote. Instead, the Republicans have conference now for 4 straight days without coming to a decision and have postponed it until Wednesday. It's very clear to me that I hope they're struggling to do the right thing, what we think is the right thing. They're also aware they have a real political problem on their hand. There is no poll that shows that the Republican base has changed on this issue at all. And for the Republicans to take over the Senate in a free election and then do the bidding of Governor Cuomo and Mayor Bloomberg, who says this is the top priority, I'll tell you, it's not the top priority of anyone in the state of only a tiny, tiny fraction of the state of New York. They haven't been able to agree what to do on rent regulations. They haven't been able to agree on what to do about property tax relief. And we're told it's all being held up because Governor Cuomo thinks gay marriage is his top priority, and I don't think that's right. Take this out of the hands of Albany politicians, trust the people with this decision, and let Albany get back to the people's business.
But just in our last minute, Ms. Gallagher, in New York we don't really have the kind of referendum system that states like California do, where we do major legislation by referendum. I mean, giving it back to the people is essentially what you see going on in those very noisy halls of the Capitol right now, right?
Which are full of our supporters. We've had a packed turnout. We're really happy. But frankly, you can do an advisory referendum in New York, and then the legislature can come back and do what the people decided. That's the way they handle it in Rhode Island and in other states. So it's not true that you can't refer it to the voters if you want. If the politicians in Albany decide to rush through this in the last minute without proper time for even thinking about religious liberty or parental rights protections or the long-term consequences, they have only themselves to blame, and I tell you, it will be the Republican majority that is blamed for this.
Okay, very good. We're going to leave it right there for now. I thank you for spending some time with us. It sounds like you've got some work to do there with all that noise there. Thanks so much for joining us, Maggie Gallagher. Still to come, we're going to ask the 4 members of our Consultants Corner to look at the mayor's race in 2013 after Anthony Weiner's resignation from Congress. Stay with us.